Hello to you all. We want to start on time so that we can finish on time. And today we're going to really start to discuss in a way all about the Sefirot, which are the Kabbalistic spheres that we want to go through. And that will be quite a challenge, but we're going to do it slowly at eye level. And let's hope that we're going to get through this Be'ezrat Hashem. So before that, I want to tell you something about your name. And when we're discussing the name, it means as follows, that when we understand that the person wants to grow, sometimes we become envious or we feel jealous of others that have got such a high spiritual potential, while we might feel that we don't. And this is not the case. And you say, well, why his name is Moses or John or whatever it is, and my name is different, and therefore I don't have the same potential. And the answer is that in the Hebrew original, from whichever name you have, you can achieve a complete 22 letters name, meaning, thank God that in the Hebrew, there's only 22 letters, and not like in the Chinese, that there's 7,000 letters. So let's say in English, when you say M, it's just a letter. It's M or A or B, just a sound. But in the Hebrew, as I'm sure we mostly all of us know, when we say a letter like Mem, it's actually a word. A bait, right, which is a B, is actually also meaning a bite, but it's got 3 letters. So most letters have got 2 or 3 letters in them. This is Kabbalah, you're in the right place. So when you start to inactivate the commandments, the mitzvot, when you start to grow up spiritually, when you start to develop, said the Chofetz Chaim, the Holy Chofetz Chaim, the one who wrote this famous book about gossip about close to 100 years already ago, and his famous commentary on the Shulchan Aruch on the code of Jewish law. So he tells us that when you start developing yourself, you start filling up your letters, filling F-I-L-L-I-N-G. What does it mean to fill up your name? It means that even though I started off as a Gil, just a G-I-L, but in the Hebrew, the minute I start to grow up and to go against my own resistance and to grow spiritually, then my name already is Gimel, which is the Hebrew letter for a G, the full 3 letters. And later on, the I, which in Hebrew is the Yud, which is again is 3 letters, Yud, Vav, and Dalet. And later on, the Lamed, which means also to teach, which is the Lamed, Mem, and Dalet. So, and once again, to this instead of 3 letters name, which is just a Gil, I come to complete my Gimel, Yud, and Lamed, which is now going to be in 9 letters. And then I can go further. Even that Gimel, which I wrote, I can now open it up and generate from it, for example, Gimel and Mem and a Gimel and a Lamed, etc. Meaning that wherever you start, however short your name is, and however many letters you have, which might be different than others, you can achieve through a lifetime of work the completion of your entire 22 letters, and by that you generate this pipeline, this conduit, this vessel to bring down all the lights or the divine presence of God into your life. Makes no difference what is your humble beginning. So much more so that we know by our sages that a person who is poor, a person who is not well, physically and emotionally, on the contrary, the more mature, they more persevere in their life and they appreciate and they cherish every day. And from those people, we expect especially greatness, because life itself didn't come to them on a tray full of gold as it was, or a garden full of roses as it may, but they really have to struggle, and therefore they achieve greatness and maturity, spiritual maturity, much faster than others. That's just, by the way, a tip for all of you. So to summarize in a nutshell, last week, what we have discussed is the fact that we have actually 3 simple vessels, well, not really simple, but 3 vessels through which these are parts of us. So just to make a short summarization, especially for me that I don't remember, it will be as follows. The soul, neshama, which is a general name for everything, really resides in our pituitary gland, which really houses or located in our brain, between the 2 different membranes within my pituitary gland. And from there, it oversees and supervises and governs the entire body. The objective is for my soul to have to manage and handle all my life and to be inspired by it. Further down, I go to my spirit, which is located in my heart. And that allows me to choose between right and wrong, between logic and emotions. And so we have heard many times repeatedly in the Bible the statement, Ish asher ruach beh, a man that has a spirit inside. It said about Joshua, it said about Moses, about King David. But Iftach, many people are described in this fashion, this label, title, because that is so important. As we learned in the past, there's chomer, which means this is how you look physically. But more than 97% of you is your personality. It's what you bring into it. And your function in life is to shape it up, is to work with it. And even though, again, you might have a humble beginning, but nevertheless, you can line up and you can shape it through life. It's very hard work to become what you want, whether it depends on your attributes, strength of character, kindness, or whether it depends on your habits, getting away from bad habits and coming to better and more elevated habits, but depends on your conceptualization, on your aspirations, on your faith, your level of faith, on your level of ideas, or what you bring out through your mouth. We discussed last week in length that yes, people can curse, yes, people can speak foul language, but it's like putting the crown of the king, and we speak about the king of all kings, about God, about Hashem, putting it into the trash, or even worse, as the Kabbalists say, because that mouth is the agent, is the messenger of God in this world. So you doing God's work by actually being here every second of the day, every day of your life, 24/7, whatever it is that you say, whichever way you say it, makes you better or bitter, makes you greater or little. And the last but not least, and maybe the most important part, is the nefesh, which means that animalistic soul which resides in our liver, under our diaphragm, in our liver, under the diaphragm, and is in charge of the force of life. But at the same time, all our bad attributes, all our bad habits come from there. In Hebrew, the word bad habits is hergelim ra'im, which means bad habits, but hergel, habit, is also comes from the roots of regel, which means your feet. So I can vote with my hands. I can be an Esau, which will say, hey, I love my daddy so much I will do everything. Yeah, in his mind, he was a genius. In his mind, he really wanted, but he was unable to control, to manage and handle his terrible habits as it was. And so, therefore, when he was buried, his head was buried in that famous grave site where all the forefathers are buried, including Adam and Eve, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Rachel. His head was buried there, but his body was sent out, was pushed out, because he didn't manage to oversee and become a king in his life and let the soul and the spirit rise over his physical temptations and habits, and the results is history, and that is what we know about it. So I'm going to finish this little section now. It's not so little, but it's very important. But before we carry on, and just one more thing, and that is, so what are we here for? What are we here for? There's an incredible book, part of the Bible, which is the book of Ecclesiastics. And it really, in the Hebrew, it's called Kohelet, which means that King Solomon, who has not been selfish, but brought into life, and he was standing up in Jerusalem on a weekly basis and giving incredible kind of sermons to simple people, allowing them at eye level to understand from his incredible wisdom that he had. As the Bible testifies, he was the wisest of all men, not before and not after. There were greater prophets like Moses, but he was the greatest of all men. So what does he say in these 12 chapters of his book, Ecclesiastics? He says, it's a very depressing kind of book if you look at it, because it starts by saying, Hevel Havalim, everything is in vain. Now, I want to share with you the following thought, which is incredible. If I take a toddler that never saw a kettle steaming away into the kitchen, and I show him a kettle, one of those old kettles, simmering away, and I ask him, what do you see? He says, well, I see a kettle, I see a jar, right, a jar on the fire, and I definitely see the steam, white steam coming out. and it's very real. And if he touches it, he even gets burned because it's very hot. Does it have a reality to it? Absolutely. But if I shut off, if I close down that kettle, the steam is going to disappear. So, and therefore, if we look into our lives, everything we do in our lives in this world, at the end of it, we're going to live here. I don't say that we shouldn't, but it's just a survival mode. It belongs to the nefesh, to that animalistic part, which is our life force, our survival force. The house we work for, it's for this world, and we need it. Again, I repeat, we need it. But we're going to leave it behind. Even the pharaohs left it in the pyramids, nothing of the treasures and all the gold and silver and the pyramids, they stayed right there. The soul elevated to the sky where it went. I have a Porsche car. If I had $1 million in the bank, if I wish, all that stays behind. Again, most of our lives we spend in this illusion, saving for this, where our lives spend 70, 80, 90 years. And so if I ask you, where are you going today? Where are you going in life? What is your destination? You will tell me to the grocery, to the Walmart, to the Trader Joe's, to the Target, wherever you're going, the gym. I'm going to do my degree. These are very important goals. But what is your final destination? Well, to get to sleep at night. No, what is your final destination? Unfortunately, the final destination for all of us is only one very sure place and welcoming as it was, which is the cemetery. But if you think about it, so if this is the final destination, how can we change our lives accordingly? If this is my final destination, what am I going to take with me? And therefore, everything in this world, we need it, but we should remember all the time it's an illusion because we leave it here. That's what King Solomon said by saying it's all vanity, it's all in vain, because nothing of this is eternal. It doesn't last. It doesn't change me as a person. The only thing it changes is the last verse in the book of Ecclesiastes, which is Sof Davar, the end of all, Hakol Nishma, once I've had everything, fear God, have the awe of God, at mitzvotav shmo, and keep his commandments. What is these commandments? These are the transformers that allow me to change and transform my physicality into spirituality, that when I die away from here, every night when I go to sleep, it's a small death, 1 in 60 years of death, that the Kabbalists tell us. And at the end of my life, I can transform all this and transform and transport all that physical action that I've done and into becoming real spiritual values, which are going to enlighten up my soul. This is why I really need my nefesh, my animalistic part, to subjugate it, to want to have this inner drive to everything I do, change it into something very beneficial. I'll just tell you a small story about it, and we'll have a little break. It is a real story. Two brothers, they were twins, they were running a bank, very rich people. It's a real story. A few decades back, I read these stories. And while running the bank, one was a person that was very devout and had the fear of the awe of God, the fear of God, and did quite a lot of charity and good deeds. And the other one played tennis and enjoyed himself in his life. At the end of life, they vowed to each other to come to each other in a dream because they loved each other. What was happening across that threshold between life and death, because that's the final destination. The very devout brother passed away, and he came to his brother in his dream, said, you can't imagine, I went straight to heaven, it's incredible, it's beautiful, everything I did, they said, check, great, you did so well, excellent, straight to heaven. So the brother said, well, I did roughly the same, my day is about the same, I go to the bank, I come home, I'm a good father, I'm going to get the same. But when he passed away, the guarding angel at the gate told him, no, you're not going where your brother is. I'm so sorry. So what's the difference? I did the same thing. No. Let's look at the difference between his day and yours. His day, he was exactly the same hours, but when he woke up, he went to pray and he devoted his life and his intention towards whatever his action were doing for the benefit, for good, and for the service of God. You woke up, you stretched, you yawned, you had your breakfast, you read the newspaper, and you went to work. It's not the same. No, it's not the same. The intention even though there was no different action, was different. The prayer made a difference. At lunchtime, you went to play tennis, but your brother sat at home and wrote checks, heavy checks, fat checks, to different kind of organizations that were very poor, needed charity, orphanages and other places, hospitals that needed charity. At nighttime, you came home, you stretched in front of the TV and enjoyed yourself and spent a few minutes with your kids. This person spent time with his wife and kids, but he taught them some manners. He taught them the way of God. He taught them how to come closer to God. That's a very small difference, was the same time. But that difference between heaven and hell, between a life worthwhile and life not. So everything he did was seemingly physical, but he used the first brother, the physical, to transport it, to transform it into spirituality. The second brother didn't have this wisdom to do so, and so he said, very materialistic, very low. And that great difference makes all the difference. This is the first part, and your turn, my friends. If you wish to share or to say, I would love to hear your voice.
I would like to share something that
Please go ahead.
When
for visit.
Sorry.
Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah. So when you're speaking about how we cannot take, the riches of this or the material wealth of this world with us when we die, I was reminded of a story of Alexander the Great. When he died, he asked for his men to carry his casket through the streets and to have I think all of his riches lying on the street or something or behind him, and the way that the body would he would have his arms dangling over the sides of the casket to show people that you leave this world the same way that you come in. And that it doesn't matter all the material wealth that you gain. And again, this is the same person who, is responsible for the Library of Alexandria.
Yes.
So we really don't have an accurate idea of how spiritual or how wise Alexander the Great was. But we do know that, he had a great empire that, spanned most of the known world at the time. He brought in different animals from different countries. And he did a lot of great things, and he did all of this work to preserve this knowledge at a library, which, of course, we know what happened to the library.
Absolutely, so but I want to just add a little bit to what you say, to your pleasant surprise. That is the Talmud, right? The Babylonian Talmud mentions Alexander the Great and says that that's 2,000 years ago, right? And it says that he had every night a repeated vision of some great Kabbalist, a rabbi Kabbalist, which he didn't know. And he was conversing with him and having a dialogue, asking questions, receiving answers. He said, I see so much light coming out of his face. Where is this huge, righteous man full of sanctity, so divine? And then he tried to conquer the land of Israel. Rabbi came to him on a horse with his few students. So he fell from his horse, Alexander the Great, bowed down and said, this is my spiritual mentor. I only met him in my dreams. What is your name, sir? And they studied together in secrecy. This is very interesting because he was a great man. He was a great man. He was a good man. He left a legacy behind him. But I didn't know till I read this piece, this portion of knowledge, to know that he had a Kabbalist behind him, the greatest of all, the one who actually brought down to this world the Holy Zohar. It was incredible. So from all of them, you brought this one.
That's amazing. I can't believe that actually came to my mind.
It's translated to English. If you want, I'll find for you the source. You're able to access it in Google in the English. It's been there for 2,000 years. It wasn't made up today, just for the case, just to cover up, right? It's not a political kind of maneuver. It's really been there in the books for 2,000 years, which is amazing. With his name.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else wants to share something? I think you were right there. Somebody's not muted, I can see. Yes. Okay. So I see that you want us to carry on, so that is what we will do, which means that you understand what we have said. And so there are few ways that you can rise up, and this is very important for me that we understand together. And this is all in the last verse of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, which means he has brought together so many people to listen to this wisdom because he wanted to share what he had with others. He wasn't selfish to leave it for himself, which is a great thing. And that's part of his wisdom, to impart it to others. And that's why it's written in the Bible, to impart it to all of us for the rest of generations. So one is through absolutely learning the Torah, the Bible, because it's got holiness inside it. Some people say it's man-given, but we have by Kabbalah, which means we have received this way, that this was actually God-given to Moses at Mount Sinai, as it is. That's why we're so particular that when we write the Torah, when we write the Bible, it's written on a scroll. It costs about $30,000, and letter for the last over 3,000 years, we don't miss a letter. If we find through computer, today it's computer screen. If we find out through the computer that one letter is missing, the whole thing is done. We have to rewrite that section again, or that piece of scroll, which is incredible. The other way is through prayer or meditation. Prayer is a form of meditation. When you do this, you contemplate, and you have your own peace of mind, your own corner on life with God. There's nobody there. When you pray, we can do it with other people, but when you pray, have your own quietude, have your own place of sanctity, at your own home, at your own place of worship, where you stand just straight before God and you pour your heart. And it's a dialogue. It's not a monologue. You don't just ask and say to God, please, I need $1 million in the bank. I need to get where. No, it's a dialogue. If you listen quietly and carefully, you will be able to many times listen to your heart, listen to your intuition, and you'll be able to receive all kind of inklings and transformates, all kind of messages from God of what you want. And one of the most important things I'll discuss with you now is those commandments, which in Hebrew doesn't only come mitzvah, the word commandment, which means there's a commander officer, God. We are the being commanded. We are the parachute. We are the Marines. And there's the script, the Torah, which tells us what to do. No, in the Hebrew, mitzvah comes also from the word the Ramban says, Nachmanides, not Maimonides, but Nachmanides says from the word connection. Okay. Mitzvah, letzavet, chibur, to join two different things. What am I joining? I'm taking a physicality, a physical body, and I'm transporting and transforming it into becoming something spiritual. So let's say I've got these two cups in front of me. Let's see if I can pour one to the other. I cannot, but just a bit I will try. One is coffee, one is tea. It doesn't really work together. But this is, let's say, my physical body. And I enjoy myself, and I have steaks, and I have fish, and I have salmon, whatever I want. It's just the physical. If I'm not smart, every day I pour a bit from this cup, and it's gone. My life force, my animalistic soul is being poured away. If I'm very smart and wise, if I'm a good investor, I invest in my own shareholding company, which is a sole proprietor. It's my life. It's my name. It's what I'm becoming for the rest of my existence for millions and billions of years, because my soul is eternal. Then every day when I will do that, I will just add a blessing. I will just add something good. I will give some charity. So every day, whatever I do, I elevate this into becoming something much bigger than this. And when I go away from this island called Earth, which is the palace of the king, with all his treasures, I'll be a multi-millionaire or billionaire when it comes to the enrichment of my soul. And even if I'm more smarter than this, I'll be like King Solomon. I will share it with others. If I light a candle, I can light from it 1,000,000 candles. I don't lose anything. Don't ever hesitate about giving to others. You only gain from it. There's nothing wrong about giving to others. Giving to others makes you great, makes you godly. Watch the sun. Sun only gives. What does she take from us? Nothing. Warmth, life, energy, the vitamin D that we need for the COVID, everything it gives. God is the same. God, by very definition, God is good. He only gives. He doesn't get anything from us. He doesn't need my praise. He does not need my command. It doesn't make him better. It makes me better. It's from my own image of God in me to become close to the image of God as life goes by. Why do we need a life, said the Kabbalists? Because every day that we go through life, I become a better version of myself, and I become a more elevated kind of person through this ability. All right. So now that we've said it, I want to go with you into the following, and then I have a little short break, which means as follows. Every time really that I want to generate into myself this godly light, this godly appearance, this elevation. And again, I can go to a pub, I can lead a very animalistic, full of temptations kind of, it's my choice, but I choose not. I choose to go the spiritual path. I choose to become a better person. I choose to be more full of godly light, which is an infinite pleasure that nothing in the physical can ever compare to this. Nothing, ever, ever. If you only taste a bit of it, you will know. It's like standing outside a disco, and you don't hear the music. You see people moving like monkeys. Say, what on earth are they moving like monkeys? Then when you walk in, you hear the music. Oh, now I get it. It's got some beautiful music to it. And you start to dance as well. As long as you're an outsider, as long as you didn't taste it, so there's nothing in it. It's there's nothing solid in this. When you taste it, when you feel it inside you, then you know. Now, so inside of us, now we're starting a little bit about the Sefirot, the holy spheres, right? We have to understand that God, in order to generate this world, to bring this world into being, he had to, we call it in Hebrew, the incredible, very famous word in Kabbalah, which means tzimtzum, which means limit himself. I will give you first an analogy. Let's say you come, and I had it once when I was in high school. I had a doctor from the university come to teach us science. He was really a brilliant man. He was a doctor of science, and we're just kids. We just need to learn a few, elements in the chemical table, whatever it is. He had to really limit himself to our level. A parent, when he speaks to a toddler, you really need to limit yourself. Because if you're going to speak in your highfalutin language, if you come home as a lawyer, as a scientist, an engineer, as a doctor, and you're going to speak to your kid in your highfalutin West University, your kid is never going to learn. The distance, the bridge between you and your child is so great, he's never going to be able to listen to you. See, peekaboo, you speak his language. So God had to limit himself through quite a few different kind of screening so that we can hold this light. Otherwise, we would explode. Imagine yourself looking through a lens of a telescope straight at the sun. You will burn your eye, no doubt about it. So you need to put different kind of screens. You need to put on yourself sunglasses to be able to watch this incredible sun. Now, the sun is just a very small little torch up there of God. There's so many millions of them, billions of them, and the sun is a very, very poor example. That's the only thing we have. But in the universe, I can tell you as a PhD in astrophysics, it's a very little kind of thing up there in the sky that we have to watch. But that's the best that we have. And even that is too much for us. This is just for us to understand as an analogy. Why did God have to limit himself, called tzimtzum, to bring it down? So listen to this. If I take the widest or the thickest, the Hebrew word is thick, ave, the thickest form of screening, right, so that almost no godliness comes through, then I come down to this animalistic life force that we have. Most of us human beings, that's what we know. We know that we want to live, we want to survive. I want to exist to the best of my ability. So much so that I forget many times when I'm here, what am I here for? I don't want to think about my final destination. I'm going to the cemetery at the end. No, I want to go to the bank every day, happy. I want to go to work. I want to have many, many patients. I want to be married. I want to have kids. I want to enjoy myself. This is my destination. Don't tell me about the cemetery. So the cemetery is not to give us a depression. The cemetery is to give us a different perspective and say, what am I here for? What is my real goal? I'm not on this island forever called Earth. I have to transform everything I do and transfer everything I do from here to the spiritual form. So the thicker the screening, the more we come down to this Earth. Therefore, our temptations, obsessions, fears, anxiety, stress, anger, depression, all of these are the thickest form that comes down on us, And this is for our own benefit, for us to struggle and work against resistance to get out of it. It doesn't give us, God does not give us an issue, a problem, a challenge that we cannot fix, that we cannot rectify. We must and we should, and that's what we are here. And this is called the nefesh, the lowest part, which is under our diaphragm. The next level has got a bit more light in it. And this is analogous to the Sefirah of Tiferet, which means it's called really the sphere of glory. The first one, the lowest one, is Malchut, which means that sphere of kingdom, where I see God's kingdom in this world. I must bring this kingdom down, even though I have a complete screen, I can't see anything. It's absolute darkness spiritually. The higher one is called Tiferet, which means I can feel more light in it, but there's still good and evil in it as well. And that is placed between my diaphragm and my throat. And therefore, I have my emotions over there. Emotions, crying, expressing feelings is so important because then you can fill your vessel, you can identify more, you can unravel, you can shred off more of yourself, not just to be logical and limited, but you can feel your soul or your spirit rather roaring up and soaring up in a better way. Then we go higher and we come to the left side of our brain, which is called Bina. That inner wisdom, that talent we have to understand one thing from the other, right? Sometimes somebody cracks a joke, it takes 5 minutes for us to understand, oh, this is what you meant to say. It takes us time to understand. Sometimes you hear your parents, they tell you something, it takes you sometimes years. Oh, this is what my parents meant. It is what my parents meant when he told me I didn't have the vessels, the tools, the understanding to listen to them because they had a whole generation gap of knowledge and experience that I don't have, or my teachers, or my spiritual mentors. And therefore, this part, which is in the left side of the brain, this is called our soul, Nun Shma, Neshama in Hebrew, Nun Shma, the 50th gate of wisdom. And this is Sfirat Bina, the sphere of wisdom. By the way, when they take our wisdom teeth out in our mouth, yes, they call wisdom teeth because when they come out, when they pop out, it means your wisdom is starting to sprout out, start to be exposed. You're starting to be wiser. You get to this maturity where people, and especially yourself, start to feel that you are a wise person. So this is not something bad, it's something good. Then we go higher, I'm nearly done. Then you go higher to that aura around your body, and that is called Chokhmah. That higher, that high, very abstract kind of wisdom, where you have a vision of the future. You say, because I have the vision of the future, I know what I'm going to do in 1 year, I know what I'm hoping to do in 5 years' time, therefore I'm going to be a very good friend of myself today and do things differently. Again, I don't live in the future, I live today, but because I have a vision towards where I want to reach, I want to be this kind of talent, this is what I want to accomplish, I'm going to start doing and juggling with it already today. I'm going to prepare myself, prepare my vessel towards it. That's why it's a greater form of vision, because it's not only understanding one thing from the other, which is Bina, which is the Hebrew word for wisdom, but it's an absolute wisdom over seeing the future. And last but not least, then we have the Yechidah, which is the aura surrounding all our head. You know, whenever you see saints in pictures of Moses and other people, you always see a big, huge aura around the head. The reason is because this, and you can see it, you can use sometimes, I can give you a tip how to see it for yourself as well when you want to see auras, and that is, you can see that aura around your head and that sprouts and comes out of your crown. Seriously or surely during the night, if you watch over the aura of the moon, it's got a great aura. You can see the same aura around the sun. And by the way, the aura around the sun, if anybody knows, it's called corona, which is the other name for COVID. Very, very interesting. And it's interesting that the Kabbalists told us in prophecy 2,000 years back that before the end of days, this corona around the sun is going to come out, and many, many people are going to perish because the world is now really transforming, and only those that are very strong and prepare themselves spiritually are going to last. I can't tell you more because you're not going to sleep again. But knowing this for quite a few years, I don't sleep anymore. But this is very interesting. So just to summarize, the bottom one has got the largest, thickest screen, no godliness in it, seemingly. And our function, our tikkun, our rectification, is to bring the kingdom of heaven into this physical world where there's no godliness, which is the hardest. Work against resistance, work against our temptations, obsessions, hardships, fears, anger, anxiety. That's the hardest. Higher level is human relationship, human dialogue. That's called the spirit and Sefirot HaTiferet, right, which is the glory, how you balance all your energies, how you communicate to yourself, to God, to your friends, to others, to your loved ones, what you really want, using emotional intelligence. The higher level is called Neshama, the soul, which is parallel to Sfirat Habinah, which is left brain, which means how do I understand one thing from the other? How do I understand from what you told me, right? Any kind of inner wisdom. That's why we call it, for example, university research. It's the same facts, but turning it around, there's a great treasure in it, which I didn't see before. It's not a new revelation, you're just researching the same subject, and I've got a new knowledge in it. The higher level is the abstract wisdom where I can see and have a forevision towards the future. It's called Chokhmah, right? And the highest level is my crown called Keter, through which I can definitely connect to God, and that's complete godliness. So before we carry on, the floor is yours. If you want to share it or ask or state, please go ahead. Yes.
It sounded like you said you don't sleep anymore.
I sleep well, but I do, when I think about this, and I've been giving this lecture for quite a few years about the last war, which is called Gog and Magog Armageddon. And whenever I think about it, or whenever I see the results of the COVID, which really trouble me, or the Omicron, I don't sleep well, because you see around the world waves and waves of these little terrorists coming at us that no one saw, nobody cares because it's a virus. Mm-hmm. And it's really killing away so many people. And even the 10 plagues of Egypt, we started off slowly, blood, frogs, pestilence. Now God is starting straight away with Makat Chorot. The last one is taking away the firstborn. Everyone is dying. And some dear friends we lost as well, which is very tragic. So God is going for the neck. Plus, you watch the news that Putin is going to invade Ukraine, and America has put 85,000 troops. So the world is going around. We're just sitting very quietly, but behind the scene, everything is bubbling. The steam is really soaring up into the sky. So, yes.
And we know that is the birth pangs of
Messiah. Yes. Not only that, we see around the world, we see floods everywhere around the world. We see lakes and rivers flushing and flooding to an extent that scientists say we never seen it in history. Read about China. See what's going on in the States. 6 states were, flooded only recently. Hurricanes, tsunamis last week out of the west coast of California, which made terrible waves, right? Shock waves. So things are happening. We just got so used to it, we became numb. So it's news. It's not news. It's a whole era which God is bringing about, which shows us that we are towards the end of time, and we must line up. We can't fall asleep. We cannot afford to live anymore just a materialistic life, because those that do won't be, as much I can say. And not because I said so. I'm not a prophet, but I'm a hopeful, optimistic person, because the prophets have said so some 2,000-3,000 years back, and that's, everyone agrees about that.
Yes.
Anyone else wants to add?
And just to support what you said, and I like to use that analogy that you cannot, when you're dreaming a dream at night, you don't know you are dreaming. Sometimes, very rarely, you dream and you understand you're dreaming and you're trying to solve the dream in your dream. But most of us, when we dream, we're not aware we're dreaming. Only when we wake up in the morning, we understand, wow, what a dream, or oh, it's a shame we lost, the dream is gone. And we call it Alma de Shikra, which means the whole or life is kind of like a dream. Sometimes we live in a nightmare. Sometimes we live in a good dream, and we're pinching ourselves that that will be and continue to be in our life. And it's not until we wake up that we are aware that we are aware in a dream or in a dream. So the formula here is that
Yes.
being awakened and being aware.
Right.
You can't be
Yes.
aware if you're not awakened. And
Right.
unfortunately, the only way we listen to the traffic signs is either through pain, through discomfort, for resistance. This is the only way we pay attention. And again, it's not until we awaken to say, oh my God, that was a nightmare. That was a dream. I'm so happy I'm not there anymore. So once we embrace that understanding, because we cannot resist the force of life, we can really maximize our meaningful journey here. And nobody knows, every minute we're getting closer and closer to the end. And I don't want to sound pessimistic because I'm not. But in the end of the day, we have to be present. You're not present, you're not living. You putting the past in the present time, you keep reliving your past, right? Because hypnosis, psychotherapy, past life regression, mindfulness is all about being present. And it's as much as it sounds simple, it's not. Because sometimes you are present, like driving your car, and it's like, oops, how did I get there? Right? I know I was driving, but I lost consciousness, right? So it's an ongoing work of minimize the noise. I'm going to give a very tough description of someone has diarrhea. The first thing we tell a person with diarrhea, stop eating. Don't keep eating. Let's stop eating, just drink a little bit and let's see what's going on. Because if you keep feeding yourself, you're still going to have the reaction. So whatever diarrhea we have in our life is spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. We need to take the time to pay attention and to recalculate our GPS, because life is like a dream. It will pass so fast, and it's just a waste to waste it. And someone just told me a few hours ago that her grandson, I shared with her that I was working with hospice, and she said, my grandson is on hospice. I was like, your grandson? How old is your grandson? She said, he's 2. I said, I'm so sorry to hear. And he was born and he had cancer, and they missed the cancer because of COVID. So now he's a 2-year-old with a huge tumor, and they don't give him much, but he's on hospice. And I said, listen, nobody is okay with death. Like if I'm okay with death, I'll be unnormal, right? But I can be okay with meaningful death. I can be okay with finding meaning in this whole nightmare. So that's what I put on the table today, to take this life and make it meaningful, being present in a moment, and do our best, being awake and being aware how we do the next step.
So this is beautiful. I'll just add something that our sages have said about what you say, Shirley, and that is, I said, everything God has created is great. It's beautiful. One thing he created is awesome. Big win. What is this? Death. Do you know why? Because it creates a spring inside us to say, time is running out.
Exactly.
And if you don't feel it, you do feel it, because every day we start with a great deal of power and hope. And then towards the end of the day, we are so vulnerable and we give up, we surrender to this, as Kabbalist sages told us, little death, which is sleep. It takes us over. The last guy that tried to win the Guinness Book of Records and not to sleep, a 15-year-old guy, he didn't sleep for 7 days and he got diabetes, irreversible blindness. We need to go there. And that reminds me, time is running short. Let me do something. Let me cherish let me do something positive. It doesn't mean to run a marathon in a panic. It means do quality actions with whatever God-given part is my part to do. And find your uniqueness. I'm not you, you're not him, he's not her. Everyone needs to find the uniqueness. As we said at the end of the prayer, we say, Betenchel can give me my part. I don't want your part. I don't want his part. I want to understand, who am I? What am I doing on earth? And this is something to do with what we're discussing now, which is, what is the will of God? Well, if I knew that, it would be awesome. It's $1 million question. It's a big win. The answer is we do know Kabbalistically. God is, first of all, the reason and the will of everything. And what he wanted is, first and foremost, what is my function in this world? First and foremost is to find him. Because he's the owner, he's the landlord, right? I come to a hotel, I live on the hotel's account for a month. They say, I'm going to go back home from Dubai. Say, excuse me, you have to pay up. Who? There's an owner over here and it's $1,000 a day. Oh, I didn't know.
Can I add something?
Yeah, let me just finish that one second.
Yeah.
So first of all, we need to know who's the landlord. And this landlord is not a cruel, tough guy. He's somebody that all he wants is my very best. On the mezuzah we have on the door, which is guarding homes, it says Shaddai, which means this holy name of God, which means he's going to give you so much that your lips will say, I can't, it's just enough, it's too much for me. You're so good. You're so benevolent to me. I can't take that so much. My vessel doesn't hold it. So first he wanted us to acknowledge that he is the source, but not just to sit there whole day and praise him, but to make something with our lives, transform who we are, to become the best version in a godly way. Become best. And in NLP, I don't emulate Denzel Washington or Will Smith with all the greatest and there are, or Joe Dispenza or anyone else. No, or this rabbi or the other. No, I've got God in front of me that I should emulate his way. He's compassionate, he's good, he's kind, he's forgiving. Yeah, let's be like God. I'm going to be little God myself, what I do. And this is what we need to do over here, and to cleave to him. And the way that I do it is every time I do a good action. One day it's feeding a dog, and one day it's petting a dog, one day it's just saving a child. Whatever it is that you do, you are doing it with the intention of being this conduit, this vessel of transferring God's light through you. You become a more of a godly person every day. Big people weren't created in one day. It's a lifetime of transformation of that physical passion into the spiritual aspiration. Yes, Sheila, please go ahead.
You said something about, I just want to help clarify with a different analogy. So if I need to pick up the phone, I need to find where the phone is, right? How would I pick up the phone? Where is the phone? So, right? Alachta means I'm supposed to walk, not you, not someone else. It's my journey,
Supposed to walk
it's my walk.
Yeah.
Yes. So if I don't know who I am, many times, people sometimes ask me, well, in this session, I want to connect to my angels or to my higher self somewhere in the spiritual, my guiding angel, whatever it is. We're not supposed to cancel ourselves. Once you can, even as someone who do energy work, right? You're not supposed to cancel yourself and say, okay, God, here you go, take it, right? We're supposed to create a vessel. Even if we channel energy, we're not canceling ourselves. We're allowing that energy to go through us the same way we give birth. I didn't create babies. I allow that process to go through my body, because once I take on part myself, I created, I'm nullifying the ability for allowing higher supervision to work through me, because it's me, it's all about me and what I do. So there is a thin line between my own identity and my higher identity connecting to my higher self, to God. So it's easier said than done. There is a journey here, not just finding the God, but finding yourself. And when you get lost, yes, you do find yourself, because the pain is so severe, and each of us has different pains. Some are physical, some mental, some emotional, some all of the above. And this is the GPS, because if God put those signs to you to watch and to pick up the phone, pick up the phone. This is your phone. This is your phone call. So I just want to emphasize on that. Yes, we call it the calling, awakening, because you can't be aware if you're not awake. But really it's about taking this private supervision, private session, private journey, and make it the best you can. You don't know, ask. This was supposed to be. Tamim tiye im Hashem Elokecha. Be naive with Hashem, not, oh, I know. I went to the dentist today. So I share some people, guys, they were hearing conversation. It's like, what do you mean? We all connected? I say, yes. So there is a reason for everything? I'm like, yes. So sometimes it's become a blind spot. We're so busy in the dot. We're so busy with our own pain, with our troubles, and we don't pick up the head. It's like, wait a second, where am I? Right?
So it is very important what Shili says. Dr. Shili Regev has got a book called and so I can do whatever I want, which means it's called, this is what you're talking about, it's called The Journey to the Center of the Soul, which is an incredible book, which really is, first of all, before you find God, you have to find yourself, because if I don't know who I am, I don't know who's my master and who's my God.
Where's the phone?
Where's the phone? So first of all, I need to get Wi-Fi. And getting the Wi-Fi is finding who you are. Finding who you are means what, and this is a very great service you do to yourself and to humanity. What is my specialness? What is my greatness? Why am I, not is what your lowest form. Yes, we all have faults, we all have negative habits and obsessions and temptation. Yeah, we all fall. Yeah, we all human. Welcome to the club. But if I find and I reach that high self and I go for the dream, I don't just want to hear from Denzel Washington and Will Smith, which are great people. Yes, live up to your dreams. Why should only two live up to the dream? What about your dreams? So living up to your dreams in a good way, and with that you give service to humanity, to your society, to the people that you love, to your community. This is your service. This is what you created for. When you feel aligned, you feel that your spirit is soaring with it. You can't wait to wake up, and you don't want, as Maya asked me before, you don't want to go to sleep. That's a good reason not to go to sleep, because I'm so enthralled with my life. It's incredible. I don't need drugs. This is the drug of life, because I'm really living up to my fullest potential. When you line up with that, that's a symphony orchestra with the universe. So just a step further, just like this. So I don't want to mess on top of you too much for one session. We call it in Hebrew shiur, one session, but I'm going to push you a little bit more, okay? Just a bit. And that is, we know, for those who know, and for those not, we're going to introduce it now, there are 4 worlds. Now, these worlds to start with are not somewhere up in the sky. There's one world, second world, when we have to climb on the Jacob's ladder to get. No, all these 4 worlds are right inside me. They're right here. All I have to do is step into them by refining myself and then reaching them. For example, we discussed here a few times the fact that dogs, cats, right, they bark or they yell in front of a corner because they are open to this world. They don't have the screening that we human beings have. If I had that kind of knowledge or science or sense as a cat or a dog, I would be petrified to see spirits walking around the whole day, which, by the way, sometimes I do. So my life is like a dog's life. But I'm used to it from being a child, but for many people, it's very frightening. So the first world we live in, and we all are sharing here, is called Olam HaAsiya, which means the world of action. It's a great, great secret that the angels gave to Moses on Mount Sinai, which means we can philosophize till tomorrow. The greatest thing here is about doing it and acting it. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that I'm a very charitable person, so I thought, and I want to donate $100 to an orphanage somewhere downtown. And I meditate about it the whole day, and I think about it. And when I open my eyes at the end of the day, I didn't give the $100, and those orphans are going to sleep hungry. You know why? Because even though I had great intentions and I meditated the whole day and I visualized how I'm doing it, I didn't do anything. Those kids went to sleep hungry. I don't have to meditate. I have to have the right intention, go downtown, give them $100 and do it. Now, Maimonides asked the following question. He wrote a letter and he writes the following question on this. I've got $100 and the 100 orphan children. This is what I can afford this week, to give $100 fundraising towards the orphanage. Should I give each one $1? This is a serious question, not a simple question. Should I give each one $1? which means I'm going to spend about 2-3 hours going between them. And it's not much. $1 is really not much, but it's going to buy them something small, a popsicle, whatever it is. Or should I give, the secretary at the office $100? Please give it to the orphans. So the Rambam, the Maimonides ponders about this question. He answers as follows. Yes, I can give $100 bill and I will get, big label out there, big win. I have donated $100 to this orphanage. What a great charitable person. But I haven't changed through this action because it says once off. But if I go from child to child and I repeat this action 100 times, like Schindler did, for 600 times he saved 600 people from the Holocaust, even though he was in Nazi movement. By the way, his day today was the days of his passing away. So Edith has around the world the fact that he's one of the pious of all the nation that was buried in a special avenue leading towards the holy city of Jerusalem. And we admire the man for whatever he did. He's an incredible, huge man, even though he was non-Jewish, even though he was a Nazi party member. Yeah, but he transformed his life. And he did it again and again and again till he became better. Till the end of the movie, he cries, yeah, I should have sold my cufflinks, save another life, another 2 lives. Why didn't I do that? We don't hold him for that. We hold him for what he did. So this is the world of action. When a person dies, when animals die, they go to the spiritual part of this world. That's why people go to seance, mystics or mediums, channelers. They can access this world, but it's only the first world. There's a higher world, which is more refined. There's a less of a screening. There's more light of God. There's still good and evil. And that's the world of what Shirley mentioned, is the world of angels, the world of our guiding angels. Sometimes you can get a very good guiding angels. And sometimes you can get not a nice guiding angel. One of his names is Satan. You can hear his voice. And I read a certain woman somewhere overseas. She had an inner voice telling her to kill 3 little girls, which she did. Now, what woman on earth will do such a horrific, terrible thing? But she did. Obviously, that doesn't come from a good guardian angel. It's obviously her own inner voice or a very bad influence of whatever angel it was. So be very careful what messages you get to make sure that it lines up with who you are. If it doesn't, how do I know? I'm walking in the dark. I open the Bible and I say, don't steal, don't kill, 10 commandments. Well, if it goes against the book, it cannot be a good angel. Very simple. Go by the book. If I'm a pilot and I'm landing up in Los Angeles and it's all dark, I fly out to pilot by the book. I can't see, but I've got a book. Fly by the book. There's a higher world where higher souls go. There's no evil there. There's no evil at all. But some souls over there still are tempted towards swaying away from the absolute truth. It's called the world of creation, Olam Abriya. Very high souls come out of the 4 parents, right? 4 mothers. They come out of the very high souls are created there. And it all depends on your actions in this world. If you refine yourself to that level, you already know in this world that you can influence souls. In your dreams, souls come to you, ask you to rectify them. You've got this giving nature where you want to help other people through your specific work. It can be writing music, it can be through your lecturing, whatever it is, through charity, through giving out discs, whatever it is, through your prayer, in the corner of your own home, in your own privacy, whatever it is that you do, you can get to this high level because you almost don't falter, you don't fall. And there's the highest world called the world of Atzilut, which means the closeness to God. These are very special souls that come down to this world once in a generation. These are those great spiritual mentors that influence masses of people and remember them for decades. Those are the people that invent and are the pioneers of religions. Those are the spiritual mentors of every generation. And so these are the people that we should admire, should aspire, we should follow when we see that their intentions are very, very good, right? So again, the difference between these worlds, the all I write here depends on how much are you able to fight and to get over your evil inclination, the more you clean your own lenses, the more you feel that your spirit is more refined and you don't get drawn to this anymore. And if you get drawn, you fight it out. I'm not going to listen to my evil inclination. I'm not going to be tempted, definitely not to the 10 Commandments and not to other things that are out there. Then you become a higher soul in this world. And I'll give you the last beautiful secret for today. People think, when I go out of this world one day, when I'm going to be 80, 90, 120, then my soul will go uprise to heaven or to hell. That's not true. Kabbalists say, if right now you're doing something very bad, right now you can see on yourself that you're being lowered to this world, which is all impurity. Now, like Shuli said, it's not about the future. It's not about, it's right now, it's the here and the present. You go right now to this world. If you right now refine your character and yourself, right now, people can see on you this divinity, this goodness, this purity, this refinement which flows over from you, because that's what you engaged in. And that's where we should go. That's where we should go. So every day, a day is not a long time. It's long enough to do things. It's short enough to see it through. When you get that temptation, you get the trial, fight it over. You don't know how to do it. The people around, that's their function in this world to help you out, that you can go through it. We all need each other's help for different things. And it's great and it's good and it's brave and it's your strength. You should be proud of yourself when you say, well, I recognize this is my challenge and I need help to get through this. But once you do, you don't only do it for yourself. The fact that you manage this, you help so many people. As Shirley mentioned, we are all one big network of human beings. When you rise, you lift everyone up. So to say, we all are connected to this net. And when you fall down, you bring everyone down. So make sure you rise. Any reflections, questions, disputes you'd like to raise in the last few minutes that we have for today? Please go ahead. We said a lot today. We spoke about world, we spoke about Sefirot, we spoke about different kind of limitations, Tzimtzum, we spoke about the different screening that God puts for us to be able to accept that light of God and how you achieve it and what is your function in this world to do. Any reflections, my friends?
No, thank you.
Thank you too. So, good evening, my friends, to all of you, and we will see each other soon. Right.
Bye.
God bless you all.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
weekend.